Hello, and welcome to a new show here on Solano College Sports Network, Steven and Andy. I'm Steven.
And I guess I'm Andy.
In this show, we'll discuss sports topics, kind of both sides of whatever issue we decide to discuss, maybe possibly ramble on, talk about music, who knows. But today, for this inaugural show, we're going to talk about Stephen A. Smith reporting that Kevin Durant received a text from LeBron James last night, kind of see if that's true, if that's not true. Then we're also going to talk about upcoming free agency in the NBA, two unsigned free agents so far, Kevin Durant and Paul George, and some guy named LeBron James. Who knows where he's going, probably LA. And then we're also going to look at baseball here in the Bay Area. We're going to talk about the A's home run streak that they just fell off of, and also who do you think was going to finish the season with a better record, the Giants or the A's? And then we'll start a segment that we're going to call Win or Lose, where we'll take a look at different people in sports. Are they winning? Are they losing? Different teams, what's going on there? So coming up, Andy, we're going to talk about Stephen A. Smith. So Stephen A. this morning on First Take reported that LeBron James texted Kevin Durant last night. Stephen also said this came from two different sources, and he received two phone calls last night about this text message. So do you really think, Andy, that LeBron James texted Kevin Durant last night?
I don't know for sure, but with everything that the media says nowadays, you can't really believe anything, but also anything can happen, really. And I think he did, because I think LeBron really wants to go to LA. His kid's going to go to school in LA next year, and his kids are a big factor in his life. And I think he's also nervous because LA is not built to win right now, and that's what LeBron wants to do. And so he wants another player to sign with him so that he's not the only guy just going to LA and then finds out nobody else goes to LA with him. Now he's stuck with Lonzo and Kuzma.
Yeah, and nobody wants to be stuck with Lonzo and Kuzma. So do you think that maybe text message was kind of like, hey, dog, LA's super nice. It's not quite the Bay Area, but maybe you want to be a Laker with me next year? And then what, you think Katie's probably like, no, bruh, I like beating you every year in the finals.
I think that's probably about how it went.
You know, and actually, just now, Bleacher Report's reporting that Joe Vardon of Cleveland.com is saying that this actually did not happen, that LeBron has not had any contact with Kevin Durant in hopes of possibly going to the Lakers and trying to lure him there. And also that that LeBron is actually not hinging his decision on whether or not the Lakers get Kawhi Leonard, which is interesting because that's another piece that LA would probably, it'd be in their best interest to look into, is acquiring Kawhi since he really wants to be there, and kind of giving up stuff to go to San Antonio to get him. And then that would definitely make the Lakers a lot more appealing to LeBron James.
It would make the Lakers a lot more appealing if they signed Paul George too, which is what they're going all out to do now that Paul George has just recently not opted into his contract with OKC, making him a free agent. So I think if the Lakers can somehow land PG, I think LeBron's probably going to go there because there's not much left for him in Cleveland. He's already won the title. The team is in shambles. It's falling apart. Unless Cleveland can get Kawhi, that's the only way I see LeBron staying.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing left in Cleveland for LeBron, nothing left to accomplish. He already, brought them a championship in 2016, rather. That brings us to KD, who's another free agent. And is he going to stay with Golden State? He said he would, but I'm kind of one of those skeptics that until the ink is put to paper, he's not staying until he does that. So, I'm a little worried, but winning championships in Golden State seems to be a focus of KD's. And so I think he'll stay. Andy, what do you think?
I think it's more than reasonable to be worried because of Kevin Durant's decision in the past with coming to the Warriors, which nobody really saw him doing besides, obviously, the Hamptons 5. But I don't think he goes anywhere. Winning is obviously something that he values a lot, And he also has become best friends with Draymond, Steph, and Clay. So it's like, why would you move on from your best friends and go to a team you're probably not going to win on? So I don't see the logic of him leaving at all.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. You know, you're in the NBA to win. And if you want to win, Golden State's really kind of the only option right now for you to be on, unless you follow LeBron wherever he's going to go. LA probably. So that's going to do it for this segment. We're going to take a quick short commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss the Oakland Athletics and San Francisco Giants.
If you are interested in a career in sports broadcasting,
whether you're commentating a live game
or hosting your own TV show,
or working behind the scenes, then this is the class for you.
For more information, contact Greg Poff, that's me, at solano.edu.
We hope to see you here next semester, and remember,
it's more than just sports, it's an education.
Welcome back to Steven and Andy here on Solano College Sports Network. Coming up, we're going to talk about the Oakland Athletics. So Andy, the A's is your team. This home run streak I've been hearing about, tell us about it.
Well, no other team has ever done it, so that's something that you need to know about. The A's hit the A's hit a home run in 27 consecutive road games. Now, the record before it was 24, and they beat it by 3, obviously. And this just goes to show what the A's do. They are a home run hitting team. They have a lot of power, and that's how a majority of their runs, if not all their runs that they get, come from the home run. So it's not only is it fun to watch, but I think it's showing what the MLB is going to become more about in the future.
So, fun to watch, sure. But what's their record during that? I mean, right now they're sitting at 10 games out of first in the West, and they're 6.5 back from the wild card. So, you know, that's after today's win. I mean, what's going on with the A's? I mean, they're hitting home runs. That's great, but I mean, it doesn't really seem to be translating into the overall win-loss record.
The A's, they are 6 games above 500 now, and they're still in third place. They're 10.5 games back. They're 6.5 games back from the wild card. I don't think that shows anything wrong about the A's. I think that shows the pure talent that's in the AL that's not in the NL.
Yeah, and I agree. The NL, especially the NL West, is really a powerhouse, the AL West is really a powerhouse, and the American League in general is really running away with the overall win-loss record. So that brings us to the other team here in the Bay Area, and that's the San Francisco Giants. The Giants right now are 4.5 games back in first in the NL West, and they are 2 games out of the wild card. And there's a little bit of a logjam there for that second wild card spot in the NL, and the Giants are right in there with 4 other teams. Giants record is 42-39, so they're about 1.5 games, 2 games back of the A's as of right now. They do play later on tonight, so it'll be interesting to kind of see. You know, of course, you're an A's fan. This is obvious. So you think the A's are going to finish with a better record this season than the Giants?
I know for a fact that they are. It's going to be a lot more difficult for them than the Giants because of the talent that's in their division alone and the talent that's in the AL that they have to face. The NL is just not even on the same level as the AL. The NL has, let's see, there's 4 teams in the AL who already have 50 or more wins, and there are how many teams in the NL who have 50 or more wins? None. So it's just like you can't even compare the two right now because the Giants have it so much easier.
Oh, I wouldn't say easier. I mean, the Giants have yet to play a game at full strength. There's been so many injuries this season that's been plaguing the Giants, and they're still right in the mix for not only winning their division, but also for the wild card. So, winning the division is something that's very, very realistic for the Giants and not the A's. But, I actually, at the end of the day, I hope you're right, because I really, really want both teams to make it into the postseason, because I think both teams has what it takes to make it far into the playoffs in October. And I've been dreaming of a Bay Bridge World Series again since I was a kid in 1989, way before you were born. That's something that was amazing here in the Bay Area, to have both teams at the top of their respective divisions and leagues and come together in the World Series.
Who won that series? I forgot.
So I know you weren't around then, but there was a lot that went into what happened. So, for instance, your A's actually jumped ship and went to Arizona to go hang out at their spring training facility, whereas the Giants actually volunteered in the community and were helping look for survivors, digging through rubble, doing what they could in the community here in San Francisco.
All right, now we're getting to a lovey-dovey.
No, I'm just saying
that's
that made a big difference when you're here, in the midst of all the chaos, and then when you're in Arizona sipping Mai Tais in the desert, it made a difference on the field. I mean, the Giants ended up getting swept. Now the A's were a fantastic team in '89, and that's proven because they were at the World Series in '88 and the run that they had in the early '90s. The Giants definitely weren't on par with that, although they, in true Giants fashion, had a lot of magic going into that 1989 World Series. Will Clark was amazing, Kevin Mitchell, you can go all up and down the list. However, I really, really wish that they would get it together, that being the A's, that is, because they still haven't gotten anything together since 1989. So it would be great to see both teams make it into the playoffs, because I think both teams could actually make it far in October. So that's going to do it for this segment of who's a better team, the Giants, and then there's the A's. And actually, a really quick point. Next year, 2019 is going to be a big anniversary for that Bay Bridge series. So maybe the A's and Giants will meet next year. But coming up after this break, we're going to move into a segment that we like to call Win or Lose.
Welcome back to Andy and Steven.
Steven and Andy.
Either one. We are going to be talking about our newest segment, Win or Lose. And in this segment, we talk about certain topics and whether or not so-and-so in that topic is winning or losing. So, Steven, what's our first topic?
So, Carmelo Anthony. Opting in, opting out in OKC, and it looks like he is opting in and going to stay put with the Thunder. So for him, I would say this is a big win. He's definitely at the later end of his career, if not maybe the last couple years of it, and he's opting into $27.5 million. And on the flip side of that, losing, I think, is OKC. Now they have a shell of an all-star player. He's taking up $27 million in cap space. That's a definite win-lose situation.
I think you hit it right on the nail. I think Carmelo is getting a big win. I believe Carmelo's 34 years old.
If it plays like he's 60.
He used to be a great isolation player. He was not a great isolation player on OKC. He was basically just a catch and shoot guy. He averaged 16 points a game, and making $27 million at 16 points a game is pretty darn solid at his age. So I'd say he's winning. OKC is not. Carmelo is not really the type of guy that you want on your team right now. at his money that he's asking.
It's insane. That's an insane amount of money to play for what's essentially could be a bench player.
Yeah.
So let's stay in OKC with Paul George. So Paul George also can stay in OKC, or he could do what he has continually said he wants to do since he left Indiana, and that's go to the Lakers. So, I would think going to the Lakers would be a win for Paul George. However, he'd be leaving a lot of money on the table if he'd made that move versus staying in OKC. So I think, kind of depending on, if you're Paul George, what you're looking for. Are you looking for that bigger payday, or if you're willing to take a pay cut and go? So I think OKC would definitely be winning if Paul George decided to stay. However, Paul George, even though taking a pay cut, could be seen as winning if he goes to the Lakers, which if that happens, OKC is definitely losing in this because they're losing, a perennial all-star who's still in the height of his career and the height of his powers and plays really well, I think, with Russell Westbrook off the ball, whereas Westbrook, it's good to have him have that option of Paul George to go to down in the post.
I think you hit it right on the nail again because Paul George, he's definitely winning opting out of his contract because he can make more money and he gets to choose where he wants to play. If you don't want to play with Russell Westbrook, which nobody probably should, then I wouldn't blame him and go to LA where you're from. So I think wherever he goes is a win for him because he's a solid player in the prime of his career. Anybody wants him on their team right now. And I think Paul George is doing it right by opting out. He can make $176 million if he wants to stay with OKC, and he can make around 130 if he wants to go to the Lakers. And like I said, either one for him is a win for him. So I think Paul George is doing it right.
Yeah, and that's going to bring us to our next winner or loser, and that's Chris Paul. Chris Paul, he's been injury plagued. He is getting up there in age, and he's possibly looking for that Supermax contract. So him staying in Houston and playing again with the Rockets, I think would be really good and a win for the Rockets, even though he has been injury plagued and he's probably not going to play a full season next year, and who knows how he's going to hold up in the playoffs. I think it would definitely be a win for the Rockets to pay him, keep him there, and kind of keep what they've built going, even though they did fall flat in the Western Conference Finals. However, I think for CP3 himself, it might be more beneficial to opt out and make a move. Now, a couple months ago, I actually came up with the idea that he may move from Houston and go to the Lakers, which, if all of you remember, when he made the move out west, originally ended up with the Clippers. David Stern actually blocked him from going to the Lakers because that's where he originally wanted to go. And the Lakers and Jerry West were really adamant about trying to pull Chris Paul over to play with Kobe. And that just, the league said, nope, didn't let that happen. So I have a feeling that this could be the prime opportunity for Chris Paul to go, not only join the team that he's always wanted to play for, but also if he gets his big buddy LeBron to go to the Lakers, that could be something interesting, and even more so if they do land Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, or hell, even both, because they do have so much cap space. All they need is one of these superstars to not go for the max deal, and they could potentially sign all four players.
I think any player getting CP3 at a max contract is a massive loss. But CP3 for himself, staying with the Houston Rockets, I think would be a win for him, unless he goes to another super team that's created. Because if he wants to win, being with the Rockets is probably his closest chance, unless, like I said, he creates another super team. But I just don't see how he could want a max contract. He doesn't even average 20 points a game anymore. He doesn't even average a double-double. It's kind of ridiculous. He's 33 years old. Come on, Chris. And he's never healthy in the playoffs. Whenever you need Chris Paul, he's not there. So, I think it's a win for Chris Paul if he stays. It's a loss if he gets a max contract and goes anywhere else.
Yeah, and that kind of brings us to another thing. Aging players in the NBA. I mean, you're seeing it with Carmelo, you're seeing it with Chris Paul. It's eventually going to catch up to LeBron James. And these guys have been on top of the league for so many years. And I'm actually a firm believer in actually letting some of these new guys come up and start taking some of the shine. Your Anthony Davises, you definitely your Steph Currys. I mean, a 2-time MVP, I feel, is so disrespected in the national media and not being mentioned in the elite echelon players. Now, he is sometimes, but then they're like, oh no, some people don't even have him in top 5. I've seen Kawhi Leonard put above him, and Kawhi Leonard played 9 games last year.
That's ridiculous.
Come on, Steph Curry has won 3 out of the last 4 championships. It's time for the crown to be removed from LeBron and finally start to be placed. And I'm okay with 1A, 1B being KD and Steph because they're both phenomenal players for different reasons. And the fact that Steph has led...
And they're both on the Warriors.
Yeah, and the fact that Steph has led the Warriors over these last 5 years, the way that he has and how exciting of a player he is, and he's revolutionized the NBA as we see it today. You go to any AAU game and everybody's chucking up 3-pointers. You go to any 7 and under, 12 and under game, and these little kids who can't even hit the backboard underneath from inside the key, and they're just chucking up threes. It's insane. It reminds me, again, before you were born, when everybody wanted to be like Mike. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. Michael Jordan helped change the game forever. Just his high-flying acrobatics, the way he was able to seem to glide through the air, even more so than Clyde the Glide. And now you've got Steph Curry hitting these shots. As soon as he crosses the half-court line, he's a threat. He showed that time and time again in the playoffs this year and throughout his career that anytime he steps over the line, you better guard him and better put somebody on him. So I think that there's a shift coming. You heard it here first. I'm definitely not on the LeBron gravy train. I do not think he's the best player in the league right now. Stats back that up. And the fact that he's been losing. Like, he hasn't won anything since 2016. There's a lot of debate even over that win. So you'd have to go back to his days in Miami. And, I mean, it's 2018.
Wait. So let's ask, is Steph winning or losing?
I would say Steph is definitely winning. But you know who's winning right now? Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's quietly under the radar, and he is quietly the second best shooter in the league, and nobody ever talks about Klay Thompson. I actually have him as my best 2-way player in the league.
He's like a Blue Mountain State Alex Moran. He gets no credit really, but he just gets to cruise on down on the best team, win, he puts in buckets. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
Klay Thompson does his part.
Yes.
But he's obviously not the star.
And what I love so much about Klay is his personality doesn't want him to be the star.
He loves that.
He loves to be able to go to Lake Merritt in Oakland and walk Rocco. And, you know, of course, a couple people will come up and say hi, but basically he flies under the radar. These trips to China, a shoe deal with Anta. Nobody knows Anta's shoes, but guess what? There's billions of people in China that love Klay Thompson. I mean, Anta is paying him $80 million. $80 million shoe contract. He couldn't get that here in the States, but guess what? He can go over there and get it, spend a couple weeks every summer, and cash his checks, which I think is phenomenal. So Klay Thompson's winning, Steph Curry is winning, LeBron James is definitely losing. I don't care where he ends up, he's losing because the Warriors just aren't going to lose.
Just Golden State in general is just winning. All right, we got a little off topic.
That's okay.
Let's go to our final win or lose topic.
The World Cup. So the World Cup was really interesting this year. The U.S. did not make it, which I think is a big loss for the sport of soccer here in this country. And what also is a big loss is the fact that the U.S. doesn't do a lot of advertising during the broadcasts of the World Cup. It just doesn't, they don't take advantage of all of these eyes glued to TV screens around this country and highlight what soccer could be.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, how not everybody, but a large portion of America is watching soccer right now. That does not happen. So why isn't the MLS just bombarding the TV screens with advertisements? Because people are actually watching soccer right now. They could be like, hey, you like what's going on? We got something kind of like it that we do here. And people don't even know that they have teams in their own area.
They don't.
It's the USA is not winning in soccer.
And
now.
There's a lot of talk these days about youth football and also youth baseball and how trying to get more participation. Kids just aren't playing football like they used to. The cool thing about soccer, anybody can play it. It doesn't matter if you're tall, if you're short, if you're fast, if you're slow, if you're a boy or girl. Everybody can play soccer.
I mean, look at me. I was a stud. I'm not in the greatest shape.
I'm not exactly sure what you were a stud of. Did you even
Soccer,
play?
soccer,
You played soccer. You played soccer. Okay, great.
We get it straight.
Okay. I played soccer as well, and it's a phenomenal sport. It definitely helps you with your hand-eye coordination, your stamina. You're able to run forever. People don't understand you have to be in great shape to play soccer. You don't have to be in the best of shape, but it definitely helps. So I definitely think the MLS is they're losing in this because they're not doing anything. They're not doing anything to help promote their sport, and they're losing opportunity. So I would say with the World Cup, the U.S. soccer team, loser, because they didn't even make it into the tournament. MLS, they're loser.
Losing.
Speaking of another loser, Germany, the defending World Cup champs, are out in the first round. And that's pretty surprising. Nobody would have seen that coming before the tournament started. And the darling of the tournament is Mexico. And it's great to have them, our neighbor to the south, doing so well in the tournament this year. And they're moving on to the 16th. And I think it's great. Mexico definitely winning a World Cup.
Yeah, I think Germany not being in the World Cup is a win for everybody because, that's why everybody hates Golden State, because nobody likes to see everybody consistently win, and that's what Germany does. And I'm gonna hate on them because I get to, but it's just like now that opens up other teams to show what they really got. And I think that's so much more interesting than watching the Spains, the Germany, Argentina, the same 4 teams, France, every year that's in the knockout round every year. Now we got some interesting teams like Mexico who are on the up and coming, and also teams that are young who are looking for the 2022 World Cup like Nigeria, and a bunch of teams that are just going to be good in the future. And now you're starting to see, hey, Germany's starting to lose all its stars. So I think this is a definitely turn of events for the World Cup, and things are going to start changing in the World Cup and in the world of soccer.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and it would be awesome to see America take more advantage of it because it is a sport that everybody can play. It's not like basketball where you've got to be tall, or baseball where you have to throw really well, or you have a good arm, or whatever the case may be. Football, there's all this fear of concussions. Not that soccer is the completely safe sport, but definitely on the youth level, it's a lot safer than these other sports. So that's going to do it for our time here on our first episode of Steven and Andy. And until next time, thank you for tuning into Solano College Sports Network. You can find these episodes by searching Greg Poff, GregPoff, on YouTube. Also, it'll be posted on my YouTube channel, Steven Babb, @babsports@gmail.com. If you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like to see any topics discussed on our show, please feel free to drop us a line. And until next time, this is Steven.
Or you can look up the most handsome man in the world on YouTube, and it usually comes up with my face. So that's probably the easiest way to get to us.
My producer's in my ear saying that that's completely untrue.
Oh.
I'm Steven.
And I'm Andy.
Until next time.
The exponential growth from the program from my first year to my third year now, that's what keeps me coming back and keeps me excited and just fulfills me as a person.
It's so impressive, and we every time we walk in here, you guys are doing something different. It's great. It's
Nothing but opportunities here, and we have sports to cover, we have the equipment.
Because the more ambitious you are, the more opportunities you'll have.
On-the-job training is huge.
You get the hands-on experience.
When someone asks who can do it, you can raise your hand and say, I can do it. So
Joining the class was the best decision I ever made.
I'm going to go to cut one. And cut one.
Cross court to Audrey Jones. Audrey for 3. And it's good! With 1.3 seconds left on the game clock. Audrey Jones with one of the biggest shots.
the sky's the limit, really, with what we can do here.